now.
Yeah, Steve Becker, EP Steve, sent us a article on Friday mentioning a potential trade between the Blue Jays and the Guardians involving Vlad Guerrero Jr., which we all responded to. There's no way the Guardians would trade Kyle Manzardo for 1 year of Vlad Guerrero Jr. However, there's another player on Toronto that I think could potentially make a little bit more sense for the Guardians if
a lot
they
more
were
sense.
a lot more sense, yeah, if they were to explore this name in the trade market. And that guy's name is Bo Bichette. He's on a 3-year deal currently. He's in the middle of the second year. They signed this contract with Toronto to avoid arbitration. He's a 2-time All-Star, a 2-time AL MLB hits leader. He plays a position of need for the Guardians at shortstop. But we know the Guardians don't like to spend. We know trading is not they do make trades, but bringing in a guy with a $17.6 million salary next year is not something they typically do. But for a player of Bichette's caliber, is this something you would be interested in, the Guardians pursuing at the deadline if they don't start getting more production at Roquio and Arias at the shortstop position?
100% I would be on board with this. In fact, I think the Blue Jays guys are a great team for the Guardians to potentially trade with. Not only do they have some hitters that I find very interesting, like Bichette, whose trade value will be down a little bit because he's not having a good season. You look at those numbers, they're not good. But the guy's been a great player in his early career. We know he's got the family history. His dad, Dante, was an excellent player for the Rockies and a few other teams. You don't see guys named Dante anymore. I feel like it's not a name. You ever meet a kid named Dante these days? Never.
By the way, just for anyone unfamiliar with Bo Bichette, the last couple seasons in 2023, he hit 306, 20 home runs, 73 RBIs. 2022, 290, 24 homers, 93 RBIs. 2021, he batted 300, 29 home runs, 102 RBIs. His first 2 seasons with combined 60 games, he hit 311.
He's never had an OPS under 800 until this year.
Yeah, the guy's an excellent player.
He's a great player.
Which means he's due for a big final 4 months of the season, most likely, unless he's got an injury we don't know about or something like that. If he's healthy, that is a no-brainer move. You get him for 2 years. And I'll tell you something else, Jason. There's other guys on Toronto I'm interested too. They've got a starting rotation of guys. Go get Yusei Kikuchi.
Yeah.
This is the last year of his contract. His contract is $10 million this year, which means you'd only have to pay him $6-7 million the rest of the year for him. Throw him in the middle of your rotation. He give you a 3.50 ERA, a 3.40 ERA the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Plus, I know you might say, well, they don't need any bullpen help. Well, you know what?
You can always use bullpen.
You can always use bullpen help. Their closer Jordan Romano, they probably wouldn't trade him. They got a setup guy, Yimi Garcia, veteran relief pitcher. And most of their relief pitchers are younger guys. I'd love to add a Yimi Garcia. He got blown up the other day, but before that he had like a 0.50 ERA. He's had one bad appearance all year. And I'd love to see the Guardians put together a package of prospects to get Bichette, Kikuchi, and Garcia. Now that would cost a lot.
Yeah.
Those are 3 good players.
I think 2 of the 3 is realistic. I don't think they're going to get
What
all
do
3.
you have to give up for this?
You'd have to give like 5 prospects, and I don't care.
Chase DeLauder would have to go.
Fine.
Let me ask you this: If let's say the Guardians did make this move, what's different now from them making this move now to the years prior? Like, why wouldn't they do this before?
They have to believe, like 2016. They have to believe they're 1 piece away or 2 pieces away.
Yeah.
If Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff believe that, they'll make a move like that when they traded their top prospects to go get Andrew Miller from the Yankees when they were buyers in 2016, and it worked. Miller was exactly what they needed. They made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
But they have to believe internally, this is what we're missing. And normally, like, I kind of poo-poo a lot of big-time trades because it just doesn't fit for one reason. I think the Bichette thing is brilliant. I think it fits perfectly.
It's a no-brainer.
I was about to say,
it's a no-brainer.
You talking about a 20 home run guy at shortstop and a spot that
Brian Roquio.
nobody take. Wait, which one of y'all made the Brian Roquio prediction?
That was me. It was a terrible call.
And you say if you saying move on from
I mean, Roquio's got an OPS under 600.
Let me tell you something. If trade him to Lauder.
What if they want Gavin Williams? They're going to ask for Gavin Williams.
I would do it.
They're going to ask for
in the
Gavin
end.
Williams.
I got to get Kikuchi or one of their other starters in the deal.
Just to get Bichette 2 years of Bichette. I don't think the Guardians would do it. Toronto's going to ask for it.
Would you do it? You give Gavin Williams? That's
if I have to get a starting pitcher in the deal, I might want I'm trying to think about their rotation.
Bassett?
Nah, he's old. Kikuchi's old too.
Well, here's the thing: when you go back to making deals like this,
I don't know how much money he's making.
a lot.
Yeah.
When you have to start for any trade,
Yeah.
you have to start with the relationship between the front offices because
Right.
there's some teams that won't deal with in all sports. They won't deal with each
Right.
other. They don't
Well-
like each other. There's bad blood. There's a feud.
That's right.
And teams just won't. But then there's other teams that match up all the time. Look at the Guardians and the Padres. They get together
Yep.
all the time on deals.
Right.
And obviously Mark Shapiro
Was here.
being
Yeah.
in Toronto was here. So there's that synergy. There's that relationship. So it makes a ton of sense. Brian Rocchio's OPS is under 600. Him and Gabby Arias both. They just don't look like they're it. And you hate to give up on a guy. Rocchio is a top prospect, and you hate to give up on a guy halfway through his first real shot at it. But you're trying to win right now.
Yeah.
And you can't wait. Like I don't think you can go all season with this. If if you have Bichette for the rest of this year and all of next year, the Guardians like longevity in any trade. They don't love rentals. They've done rentals. Yasiel Puig was a rental.
Yeah.
But they got other long-term pieces. Fran Mill was also part of that deal, and they had
Yeah.
him for multiple years of
Right,
control.
right.
So if you can get multiple years of control on a guy like Bichette, and then so if you're not going to re-sign him, but if you get 2 years with Bichette,
Right.
and then maybe Juan Brito's ready, Brito might be ready before that.
Well,
would
you might have to
slide-
trade. Maybe Brito's the guy you
Maybe
have to trade.
Brito's the guy that you trade.
I'll tell you, I would be very hesitant to trade Gavin Williams. I wouldn't want to trade him, and I wouldn't want to trade Manzardo. But I'd trade anybody else.
I'm with you.
I'd trade anybody
with
else.
you.
I don't care. There's nobody else
I
in
would
the system
trade
that might be
Chase
able to
But you
trade.
know that's going to start with one of those too. Like
That's what they're gonna ask for
Yeah, why
first.
wouldn't you?
And you're not gonna-
Especially Manzardo actually been playing good. Gavin Williams he was good last year,
and-
but he's been hurt.
likely you're not going to do this before the Toronto's not going to
Yeah.
trade these guys before the deadline. They're
No.
5 games out right now of the third wild card,
Right.
which I mean they're dead last in the East. They're 5
Yeah.
games under 500. They're probably not going anywhere, but they're only 5 games. They've spent a ton of money, and they've got a good team.
Yeah.
On paper, it's supposed to be a good team.
I
So
would-
they're going to give this as
Yeah.
long as they can, and they're going to let the demand build for
Jason,
these
I
guys.
think if you traded Chase DeLauder, whatever shortstop prospect they think is the best, I don't care who it is. You trade Ralphie Velasquez. I don't care. I really don't want to trade Gavin Williams. Push comes to shove. If I get enough pitching back, I would do it, but I don't want to.
I think pitching is obviously the hottest commodity. They're
Yeah.
going to want some sort of arm, and I don't know.
They're
that-
weaker in the lineup than they are at pitching.
But I don't know that Tugboat in single A is enough of pitching. And they
I
don't.
don't know.
The Guardians right now are sort of in that gap. Like these things come in waves. Their starting pitching seems
Right.
to come in waves, and the wave has reached shore now with Bybee. They're not
Yeah.
trading Bybee, Gavin Williams, and it's supposed to be Espino, but he's been
Yeah.
hurt. And now there's like a little bit of a lull before
Right.
you get to the next wave of prospects. And
Yeah.
I don't know that they have the pitching commodity. I don't know. Who knows who's going to be in this in July if Toronto can get a better deal with better pitching prospects elsewhere. That's where the Guardians are going to be up against.
Right now, if Gavin Williams was healthy, where would you peg him out of the starting
Number
pitcher?
one.
Over everybody?
Yes.
Over Bybee?
Yes.
He's the most talented pitcher they have.
And y'all willing to trade?
He did. I didn't say that. He said
listen,
it. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby.
Oh, shoot.
I would.
What
have-
about
to trade Gavin Williams? I'd have to get everything I want. I don't really want to trade him.
What about
I'm not trading Manzardo, and I don't want to trade Williams. But I would trade anybody else. When teams make these big trades, they don't always give up their top 2 guys.
Correct.
What is
and
the-
usually they don't, actually.
Right.
Usually
but
they don't.
They want the 3rd guy, the 6th guy, the 8th guy, the 10th guy.
Fine.
Done. Let's
Yeah.
go.
What about you say his name is Brissett, the pitcher from the Blue Jays?
He said
I said Kikuchi.
Coochie.
Okay,
Chris
where
Bass.
would he fit in the lineup? Or is he a bullpen guy?
He would be. I'd put him 3rd behind Gavin and.
Yeah,
Bybee.
I mean Gavin Williams
No.
potentially is better than
I'm
those
saying
guys.
if you traded Gavin and got somebody back from the Blue Jays, pitching wise.
If you got, it depends who you got. I mean, Kikuchi would really be their second best starter behind Bybee. Might even be their best.
I'd still take Bybee over Coochie.
I mean, long term, certainly. He's
Yeah, I'm
an older
talking about
guy.
just for this year.
Just for this year. You probably start him in game. You probably would start him game 1 or game 2.
So he'd be
in the playoffs.
he'd be potentially your ace.
Yeah, I mean he's not an ace, but like they have
So we in the
Jose
same
Barrios.
situation.
Although the money's probably too much. What's the money on Barrios? I gotta look him up. But
it's a lot, and quite a few years left. I think he's probably got about 3-4 years left.
I like him a lot.
He said,
He's
He has he signed a 7-year, $131 million extension in 2021. So
yeah.
So they'd have to eat some of that money. He's
They're not going to do that. He's pitching really well. This
yeah,
year.
he's got
There's no reason
4
for him to
years
eat.
left, 18, 24. That's not unreasonable.
Well, they're not paying it.
No, they're not. I mean, it's not unreasonable just in general.
Yeah.
The Guardians not paying it. So, yeah, I mean, no, if I'm only, in the end, I think if I'm getting Kikuchi, I'm not trading Gavin Williams because
They probably could do it without giving him up because
Yeah.
you're right. A lot of these deals get done without
Yes.
giving up the number one guy. It's other guys, but you have to have a pitching prospect in there somewhere.
yeah,
more than likely.
Who's their best pitching prospect right now? Beyond that, Joey Cantillo.
Is
guess.
Espino still? Does he
Tugboat.
still count?
Espino's had too many injuries.
I don't think anybody
teams aren't going to touch him. Not as the anchor to
No.
a trade.
But
might
Chase
be-
DeLauder is a highly thought of
Yes,
prospect.
yes.
And if you traded him, whoever that best pitching prospect besides Gavin Williams is, whoever they think, if you said to the Blue Jays essentially, we'll trade you Chase DeLauder, whichever one of our shortstop prospects you like the most, whichever one of our pitching prospects besides Gavin Williams you like the most.
Yeah.
I know they wouldn't present.
Can I ask one question real quick on this?
Yeah, and then a fourth guy. Let's go.
So obviously the draft is coming up next month.
Yes.
Guardians have the top pick. This deal most likely won't get done if anything comes to fruition until the deadline because obviously
Correct.
Toronto's still in the mix. How does the draft and where the Guardians fit into the draft?
Doesn't.
You
Not
can't
at all.
trade
Has no impact.
You can't trade. Oh.
No,
You
no,
can't
not
trade the
draft picks,
pick.
but
You can
obviously
trade the
they'll-
player. They're not going to trade that guy.
No.
No, not the number one. But let's say they took Alex Clemens, the pitcher, the left-handed 6'7" lefty from Rhode Island High School
Yeah.
last year. Like I don't know where he is in the progression of his.
Yeah,
But another guy, like say they draft a pitcher with the first pick in the second round, or wherever they pick in the second round.
they could trade
Like
that
does
guy.
that add up to enough to maybe?
I think they have enough.
Give it a more
I don't think
salvageable
they
package
have
from
to
a
trade
pitching
Gavin
standpoint?
Williams. Again, if you were getting, let's say Barrios only had
2 years
two
left.
years
Yeah,
left,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
they were eating the money, then maybe you're not. But I'm trying to get Kikuchi or even Bassett. You're not going to have to give up Gavin Williams in a trade like that. Obviously, you have to give up something to get something. Bichette's a hell of a player.
He's very
They're not going to
good.
give him away.
I kind of look at Bichette like Castellanos when he was in Detroit, who Castellanos is having a terrible year
right.
with the Tigers.
And then he went.
But he was in a terrible situation. He was on a bad team.
Yep.
They weren't winning. But you get a move into a pennant contender,
That's right.
and it just jolts you.
Yes.
And
Well,
then
I mean-
Castellanos had a great finish with, I think, the Reds.
Who would cost more, Bo or Lindor?
Oh, Bo. By a lot.
Bo because of the contract.
The Mets would love to get rid of Lindor, I think.
Well,
That's crazy.
And
After what I sent you, that man sat there and just took like.
I did not like that. I don't know
I
what
was looking
happened
at
there.
him.
Something was going on there.
I will say this. I think if the Guardians could get Lindor back, and obviously the Mets would have to eat a huge chunk of that contract, I think he would play great here.
I agree.
I think he would bounce back.
I don't think they would eat that much. I mean, that was a monster
Yeah, it's too
deal.
much.
They would have to eat.
Lindor has, not including this year.
There's no way.
He's
Bo.
got
Holy
7 years left at $34 million a year.
I mean, they
that
would
contract's
have
going
to-
to be a disaster.
They would have to eat 3/4 of that. Legitimately.
Yes. I was going to say they'd have to eat about 20-something million a year,
They'd have to eat $250 million of the 340,
which is
That is absurd.
and they would never do that.
yeah.
There'd be no point.
Don't say never.
Hey, if you could get Lindor back and you only had to pay $10 million a year for the next 7 years, would they do it?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure. That's
The
a
Mets are not
no-brainer.
going to eat $24 million.
No, they are not. No, they are not.
You can dream though, but the Bichette thing definitely has legs if the Blue Jays fall out of it.
I think so. He's a phenomenal talent. He fits
Yeah.
perfectly in a position of need.
Right.
Bat him in the middle of the order right away.
Yeah.
And then the way it's trending, I think Jimenez is ultimately going to be the shortstop here. It's easier to fill second than it is short. And maybe it might, who knows, it might be Tyler Freeman in 2 years. If
Yeah.
Freeman's bat continues to develop, you
Right.
can go find another center fielder, put Freeman back in his natural position.
I mean, we are talking about the Guardians here.
I know. But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
shortstop has been such a difficult spot for them
It
to
has.
fill.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately it very well may wind up being Jimenez. But Bichette would buy you 2 years to figure out if Brito, you're right, Brito might be included in the trade
Yeah.
in that type of hypothetical. If they hold on to him, Brito might be the answer
Yeah.
at second base, Himmy at short, and leave Freeman in center or whatever. But you have a bona fide all-star shortstop again and a bat in the middle of the order for the next 2 postseasons because
Yeah.
this team's ready to go.
Yeah.
They're not that far away.
No,
They need help.
and that's
but
why
they're
they
not
need
that
to.
far away.
That's why the Guardians have to be aggressive because you talk about why they haven't been the last few. Well, last year I understood what they did. I know a lot of people didn't like it. Jay was aggravated. I understood what they did.
I applauded it. The Savali trade, you mean? Like
Yes.
Galen?
Yeah.
I thought it was the right move.
2 years ago, I understand why they weren't that aggressive that year even because it felt like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
This is less out of nowhere. Now there is some level of obvious surprise because the roster individually doesn't add up to as well as they're playing, but it's close enough and they're playing well enough that the organization, and when I say organization, I mean ownership, owes it to them to commit to the payroll, which they haven't done the last few years, to raise the payroll and give this team a chance to legitimately compete. Because honestly, the Yankees and the Orioles, to me, are the only teams that are very good in the American League. Everybody else is kind of mediocre.
Yeah.
So